Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming. Tonight, we're joined by Sami Hameid. He graduated from Drexel University in 2018 with a BS in sport management. He's held various positions with different sports teams throughout his career, including the Sixers, the Eagles, Golden State Warriors, Carolina Panthers, Sporting KC, and the Boston Bruins. Just recently, he began a new position with the Detroit Lions as a membership services representative. Mr. Hameid, thank you for taking out the time to speak with us. To start things off, can you just kind of take us through your career path from college to your current role?
Yeah, happy to. So, originally from Philadelphia, PA, so Northeast. I'm sure as all of you know, is it this sport management class? Is it?
So it's a sports industry club. We don't have a sport management degree,
Okay.
but we have a club sports industry. So
Okay, great, perfect. Well, so I'm sure if all of you were trying to get into the world of sports, you one thing that at a young age you can all find out pretty quickly is you have to be willing to go wherever the opportunity is, especially earlier on in your career. I thought I was going to live and be in the Northeast for the rest of my life. As Brandon alluded to, I my first job in sports was at the Golden State Warriors in inside sales. Now, I was told, and the reason why I like ticketing per se, and ticket sales isn't for everyone, but I liked seeing if I'm putting in all this effort, then there's a tangible goal at the end of it. You sell tickets, you make money, company sees that you're earning a lot of money, and you also get money to be able to put in your pocket. So I fell in love with the world of ticket sales, being that I played sports growing up, very competitive. So naturally was a good fit for me. I was doing very well out in Golden State, top of my inside sales class. This is back when they had Kevin Durant, DeMarcus Cousins, basically the Monstars, heading into the last year at Oracle Arena. Um, my claim to fame is that my name, along with a bunch of other names, are signed on the last steel beam that went into the Chase Center. So I kind of saw that being built before it actually opened. Did very well out there, realized West Coast wasn't for me. I don't know if anyone here is from the West Coast. No knock against it. I just, the West Coast was not for me. And I quickly realized that, went back home to finish my inside sales career with HBSE, with which I don't know if all of you are familiar with, but that's the ownership group that just bought out the Commanders. I was there before that though, so this is back when the Devils was the main focus because the Sixers were selling out. They had Jimmy Butler and all of them, so like no one needed to sell that team. So main focus was on the Devils. Did very well out there, but my inside sales career was sort of coming to an end. Most of the people stay in it only for about a year, give or take. That's obviously different for many other organizations, but uh, got my first job outside of inside sales with the Carolina Panthers as an AE. Again, I still love new business. It's what I've known for that year plus that I've been in sports. Again, doing very well out there, but COVID happened, which was a very dark time for our industry. They sort of said, "Hey, you're the youngest one on the sales team. Good luck. You'll land on your feet," which act then led me to getting a role with, I stayed patient. I was interviewing for a bunch of places, but I knew like in my heart, I wanted to get into service. And when I was with the Panthers, the way their stadium was configured, they had all of the new business people sitting in sort of like the eastern part of the stadium, and the service team sat in the northern part in the stadium. And because they had no office space with the new business people, I heard the day in and day out of how the service team was, and relationship based selling, and instead of just getting rid of your clients, you actually get to keep them year over year and really build those relationships. And I love that. Like I love talking to people and getting to know them. Very talkable guy. So I held firm throughout COVID. even though jobs were few and far between, and was lucky enough to land a role with Sporting KC, the MLS team out there, did very, very well. I loved it there. I was, out hustling a lot of even the new business people, and that was, they were supposed to be making 100+ calls a day, but I was making 100+ calls because I really loved the service side of things. Fortunately, we had some personal things happen in my life in my wife's life that led us to having to move back east, and she has ties to the New England area. And I know I met with some of the kids from Monmouth not that long ago, but I landed with the Bruins where I was for the past 3 years. Did was their highest performing service rep in terms of renewals, new business, you name it. I really loved it there. Um, but where my career was going, you know, I did love it there. And yes, I was able to not only handle the hockey team, I was working some of the Celtics events, which, I'm a big Celtics fan. So that was awesome. Like I was there at game 5 of the NBA finals. Like it was really cool. I have some of the confetti. I thought I had it here, but I guess I don't. I know I have confetti somewhere in you know what? I definitely think it's somewhere up on my shelf, but I have confetti from the finals. So, it was great, but my wife and I want to start a family eventually. And if you're working 40+ games and now also having to worry about the NBA and all the concerts and events, plus traffic is horrible. I was spending 2 hours one way and then like an hour back just trying to get home. So 3 hours, 4 hours of my day were spent in traffic, which I did not like, but led me to, I was interviewing quite a few places, but my wife and I were really comfortable with moving here. Been happy, been here for about 3 weeks now, but love what I do. I'm still doing the same thing, membership services, but there's a lot less games, which is awesome. And that's not to say I don't like being at the games, but there's a lot of games in hockey. And if any one of you eventually move up to like baseball or something, that's even more, which is, oh, that's a lot. But um, I love what I do. A lot of my day is making 30 or so calls, getting to know my people. There's not a ton of pressure in terms of selling new business because the team is really good now. A lot of my main prerogative is just making sure I keep my 12 to 1300 accounts, keep them happy. You're really just getting to know people, talking sports. I mean, that's the beauty of it, right? Like I get to talk about sports every single day, um, which is awesome. And I get to build these long-lasting relationships with people. So that's a little bit about myself and what led me to this point.
Cool. Can you kind of go over what your current day-to-day looks like?
Yeah. Well, a lot of my current day-to-day is since I just joined, it's a lot of first it was training like nonstop for about a week and a half, and now it's trying to outreach to 12 to 1300 accounts. So what does that look like? That's like 40 to 50 calls a day, just trying to get a hold of my members and building that relationship. You don't want this is sort of the mindset that I've adapted is that being in service, you're not waiting for a renewal period. And when I say that, I mean like renewing their season tickets. You don't want to wait for that whatever, like month period when you say, hey, you want to renew? You don't want to wait till that to build a relationship with that client. Because if you do that, then you basically lost them. So you really want to like renew them 24/7, 365. Like every day you're renewing them and making sure you're getting back to them within a 24-hour time frame. So a lot of people who are reaching out to me, I feel like I'm not able to do any outbound now because a lot of people have not had a rep for a few months. So a lot of it's just trying to put out fires that were not, I wasn't responsible for necessarily, but it's, here's a saying I like to live by. It might not be my fault, but it is my problem. So I want to, make sure that they're happy and try to go the extra mile and really get to know these people. When I'm in the stadium, I'll have a lot of people wanting to stop by and pick up a bobblehead or two. You wouldn't think it's crazy how many grown men and women like go crazy over a plastic toy, but to them I get it. Like this is their escape from sports or escape from reality, right? Is sports. You and me, we might think of, oh, sweet, like the Lions are on TV, that's awesome, or cool, the Lions are, a good team. But to us, like, or to me, I have to like put myself in their shoes and be like, oh, like this is their, they're having all these issues at work, or they're getting into a fight with their spouse and whatever, and we want to make their experience at a Lions game a lot more enjoyable and like have them forget about their reality and be able to enjoy a game for, a few hours while they're here. So a lot of it is going into that and making sure that popping up properly, their membership rewards are going smoothly. A lot of times I'll be talking to people who want to try to buy more seats because the team is good now, and I'll be like, "Camp, like we have 58,000 season ticket members now, and the stadium only seats about 65,000." And you might think, "Oh, 7,000 tickets a game, that's a lot." But then there's NFL holds, there's team holds that we have to give X amount of tickets to the away team. We have to keep some inventory for groups because we don't want to alienate, fans. We have to keep some single game tickets because we don't want to alienate certain fans who only want to go to a game or two. So really, like the inventory is just not there. So it's a lot of maintaining relationships right now, I would say is probably my day to day. And then on a game day, that's where it gets interesting, where you think you could be doing one thing, but then something else happens. I mean, just last game, now, this wasn't me, this was a different rep. But you know how I told you all, like, hey, we're sold out, like, we don't have any tickets left. Well, this person sold a fairly large group and accidentally sold the wrong game, and the person was from out of town, but they're there for the game that just happened. So luckily, we were able to make something happen, but you have these small fires that pop up from time to time. I The other day, the game against, who did we just play? Seattle. Had a woman come up to me. We were handing out. This is probably the funniest moment I think that's ever happened to me at a game, but without going too much into it, they were handing out these bracelets that light up, and a woman basically called me and my coworker worthless because we didn't know where to pick them up at. So, like, you'll have people complaining to you and thinking like you need to solve my issue. So it really goes back to like, hey, it's not my fault, but it is my problem. I want to make sure that these people have an enjoyable experience at the games. So a lot of the times, they don't get to meet Amon-Ra St. Brown, or they don't get to meet Dan Campbell. We're the face of the franchise to these people. So we really have to, put out all these fires that come up, especially on game day.
So just generally throughout your career, how has your job differed, if at all, like when the team's in season compared to like the off season?
Yeah, definitely different. I would say depending on the role could be different. Now, when I was in new business, a lot of the season was spent on trying to get people to buy, you know, new full season tickets. And again, that really does depend on what team you're working for. Like with the Warriors, there's no new full season tickets to sell, especially when I was there. And I was only there during the season, so I can't really speak to that. But yeah, a lot of the off season is trying to get people to buy new season tickets, reaching out to them and saying, "Hey, like, saw you came out to a few games." Now, this is when I was in new business. Off season, when I was in service, it's a lot of hosting events, planning for big events, especially with the Bruins. Like, you'd think, hey, hockey team, you're only busy for fall and the winter and part of spring. Not the case at all. Bruins, we would host a lot of off-season events um, from the draft party to beach parties to just random things at the just randomly all over Boston. So a lot of it is trying to keep like top of mind that, hey, we might not be in season, but we have this, right? We have this. Now the NBA does a perfect job of that because I don't know if all of you are basketball fans, but you see once the season's over, it's like the next week is the draft, and then the week after that, summer league starts. And then there's only like a month in between, and then preseason sneaks up on you. And now all of a sudden you're in, I mean, like last week that the Celtics had won the finals, and we were lucky because we had the Olympics to take a huge part of that. So, um, there's a lot of like just trying to make sure that you're keeping top of mind, like, hey, we're here. I know with the Lions now, I haven't been in an off season yet, but I do know that we host quite a few events, whether that's a draft party. I mean, the Lions just had the whole NFL draft there, but we'll have those. We'll have training camp meet and greets, or hey, come meet like the rookies at an OTA type of thing. So, it's a lot of times just making sure that you're keeping your members engaged, and every time you call them or reach out to them, you want to have a reason as to why you're reaching out to them. I would definitely say there's no downtime working in sports because it feels like there's always something going on. Um, but you never know. It could change every day.
So to kind of bounce off of what you were just saying about having different events and stuff in the off season, have
Mhm.
you like worked like TD Garden probably has like stuff like concerts and stuff that wasn't related to the team? Are you involved with stuff like that too with TD
Yeah,
Garden?
when I was there, you were expected to, and it's the same thing with the Lions here. Like if you sell a concert, like a suite, the good thing about service too is a lot of times you are full menu. So even though my main job is to ensure that however many millions of dollars that, I own their book of business and making sure they come back every year. If a season ticket holder wants to reach out to me and buy a suite, whether that's here, whether that's when I was with the Bruins or wherever, we there, if I sell a suite for that, you're pretty much expected to work that event. So yeah, I mean, I was working quite a bit of off-season stuff. I know with the Bruins, especially, we did really well. Like one thing I commend my boss for doing is even though the Bruins are a very popular team and we've been sold out of season tickets, they were sold out of season tickets for what, 15 years or more now. Whether the team's good or bad, they're going to sell out, but they don't function like that. They function like a team who needs to sell inventory. And what I mean that is they're doing a lot of outreach. So one of the things I did when I was with the Bruins is I managed our season ticket holder Twitter. So we were constantly running events or running contests. I feel like we were doing a contest every week, where, we're just giving away stuff for free. So, yeah, I mean, there are a lot of concerts, especially working at a place like the Garden. I feel like there is a major concert there pretty much every week. Or, I remember once there's like WWE. I mean, you get like high school sports sometimes going in there, and it's crazy. So, and especially with hockey, I mean, if either anyone has been to Boston, like they love the Bruins there. I'll never really understand why they love them so much, but hockey is just so big in Boston. So, I mean, we literally hosted the Boston um high school hockey championships. So, I mean, there are tons of random events that'll be popping up there all the time. And a lot of the times they will ask the season ticket member reps to kind of be there because a lot of our clients also buy tickets for those.
And then I know you touched on this before when you were talking about like your experience on game day last week, but can you kind of go more into like just typically how your role has differed like on game days and on off days?
Yeah. Oh man. So with the when I was with the Warriors, a lot of my game day was spent. We had one office in Oakland, one in San Francisco, but a lot of my time was spent in Oakland on game days, and we would be essentially given a list of leads. Like people who bought these premium seating areas say, hey, reach out to these people, make sure that they know where they're going, um, and all that. And then, hey, this is like some people that you can reach out and try to sell tickets to. So that's where a lot of the times my leads came from. But I would basically be standing in one of our club areas trying to get people signed up on the wait list. That was a great experience and chance to get people on the wait list, but it was also during an interesting time where, the Raiders at the time hadn't left yet, but they were basically on their way out. The the Warriors now are moving to San Francisco, which yeah, it's only a few miles away, but if anyone has been to California, especially Northern California, traffic sucks. Like it's so bad. So, and people like in Oakland, they hate San Francisco, and San Francisco hates Oakland. So you have a lot of people not wanting to go over there. So a lot of time it was me trying to convince people and fielding basically people complaining about saying, hey, like, why are you moving? And, it's my fault. And I'm just an inside sales rep. So, um, yeah, there was that. And then I didn't have any game days when I was with the Sixers and Devils. I was only there during the off season. I was there I was in the in season when I went with the Carolina Panthers. That was an interesting time because I joined the Monday after the second game of the season. There was a game on a Thursday. They had started the season 0-2. They lost to the Buccaneers. Cam Newton got hurt and was ruled out for the year. So that was interesting. But on my game day, oh, and that was also the season they fired Ron Rivera. So that was not a good time to be working for the Panthers. But a lot of times on game days, I'd be standing in the concourse, getting people to come up and saying, hey, try to convince them to buy season tickets or look at group tickets or uh I would have a couple suites I would need to go visit and just make sure that everyone was doing all right. So that was great. When I was with Sporting KC, a lot of times there I would do seat visits. So visiting certain clients that needed extra attention, need extra love, maybe giving them a jersey, signed soccer ball, something like that. We would also have a lot of giveaways scheduled throughout the year so people could come up to the season ticket table their gift or whatever. Um, when I was with the Bruins, I could be doing one of a few things. It was either working out the box office, which I don't know if anyone has followed sports teams nowadays, but there's a ton of like ticket fraud going around. So a lot of times it was trying to decipher and help people out and season ticket members who sent their tickets or people coming up and saying, I can't get my tickets to work. And then they ended up buying off of like some random ticket site. So that was always fun. Or I would do seat visits, or I could do like float around, or I would man the phone if people called in on a game day, which there are quite a few people who did. And then, or I would be working a season ticket holder table and just answering people's questions as they came up. With the Lions, I've only done one game day, so I really can't say too much. But basically, I was sitting at a table, fielded questions, a lot of complaints, at letting people into the club area. And again, just a lot of answering questions and meeting my members for the first time, but pretty unique experience getting to work my first game on Monday night. That was awesome.
What are some of the most important skills that you need to possess in a role like yours, especially in terms of like creating and maintaining relationships?
Yeah, oh man, that's a good question. I would say, and this is something I've learned to try and get better at, but not taking things too personally. Like I joked about the lady who said I was worthless because I didn't know where the light up bracelet handouts were, but my coworker was pretty rattled. And I'm sitting there just laughing, and he's like, "Why are you laughing so much?" And I said, "Well, you can either choose to take it seriously and take it to heart like he did, or you can laugh about it." So you have to realize a lot of these times people are pointing the finger at you and blaming you for things, but you have to put yourselves in their shoes and be like, they're probably not mad at you, they're mad at something else. So try not to take things too personally. You definitely want to have a good like motivation drive, especially earlier in career. If you're going to do inside sales, you're going to get a lot of people who say every single word in the dictionary to you and cursing at you and saying words you didn't even know existed, but you have to let it roll off your back. Like if you keep focusing on every no, then you're gonna, you know, you're it's not a good thing. You don't want to chase ghosts. You want to try to reach out to as many people as you can. But now in service, you really want to try to keep as many people happy as you can and not try to play favorites because I remember when I was with the Bruins, we had signed a very controversial player on a Friday, let them go on a Sunday, and we still had all these people like blaming me as if I'm the guy, one who signed the guy. But again, goes back to just letting things roll off your back and not taking these things too personally because a lot of times it's not your fault. But so I would say that having a drive and trying not to take things too personally.
How does your job change when working with a team that's successful at the time as opposed to working with a team that may not be performing too well?
Oh, okay. So when I was with the Panthers, that's the one time I can really point to when a team wasn't good because they were bad. Like they just lost Cam Newton. They had, I can't even remember. I know Will Greer started a couple games. Don't remember the other guy. I know he's from Houston that started a bunch of other games, but the team was bad. The owner, look, say what you will. I'm just saying he wasn't a I'm just gonna leave it at that. You guys can kind of tell where I'm going, but um, the team just was not in a good spot in terms of on the field product. The leaders in place were pretty good, but you want to focus a lot on. And this is where it can get tricky. Whether you work for a good team or a bad team, you want to focus on the experience of the games. Now, when the team is doing well, hype that up as much as you can, but you don't want to rely on that because a team could be very bad the following year. You never just know in sports, up and down, up and down, up and down. You know, the Warriors were amazing a few years ago. Now they can barely even make the playoffs. So that's where you really can get them because people love talking about their kids. Um, So trying to make sure the experience is really good for them and you know, go from there. When a team is good, yeah, it definitely helps. I can't say it doesn't, but try not to focus on that too much because you never know.
So a question that I had had before the meeting started was if you kind of needed to have a willingness to relocate and stuff, and I know you kind of mentioned that in the beginning a little bit. Can
Mhm.
you talk about why that's so important to like have to be willing to relocate and go to different positions?
Yeah, so I would say I've taken an extremely unconventional path. I know a lot of people, like I know a lot of, and I have a lot of industry friends who have had one team and that's it. And I've had people like me who've moved around quite a bit. My boss, who I have now, has moved around quite a bit. So it really is just whatever you're comfortable doing. I would say don't do exactly what I did and move around as much as I can, even though some of it was out of my control. But I mean, you never know. If you say to yourself, I'm only staying in the Northeast like I was, you're gonna miss opportunities out west. I mean, there are so many teams around the US that have these initial programs like in inside sales or even just, you know, first level like marketing positions or community relations or whatever it is you all are trying to get into. There are so many teams around the around the US. So it's really like you want to try to keep your options open. Then eventually when you meet someone in your personal life and you want to settle down, have a family, or you really like your ownership, like it really, what I will say this, it matters more who you work for than the team you work for. And when I say who you work for, I mean like the leadership in place and can you see yourself growing with that organization under that leadership for a long time? That matters way more. Oh, it's a great team. I'd love to go work for this team because it's a popular team. Like you really want to try to be, and plus too, I mean, sports is super, super competitive, especially earlier on in your career when you have next to no experience. Now you probably are doing, you're in this sports club for school. That's great. But think of how many kids around in college are doing sort of the similar thing. So what can you do to set yourself apart? That's another thing. And sometimes, especially earlier on, if you're willing to move, like that's a good thing because people will see, oh, this person's so determined to succeed that they're willing to move out of their comfort zone. People will see that. And a lot of times, I mean, shoot, you could have a job open up near you, but there's so many local kids who are doing that. But then there's a job in like Oklahoma where no one wants to move. Um, but you're willing to do it and you're willing to get out of your comfort zone to do it. I think that goes a long way.
You've also worked with teams from like a lot of different sports. So I know you mentioned a little bit about how like the scheduling obviously changes your job a little bit, but along with that, is there like big differences between each sport in your position?
Um, I would say the biggest difference in it is not the sport itself, or even, I mean, it really is either the time of year that can present issues. So when I was working with the soccer team, right, the stadium is smaller, which means I had less accounts to manage, which is good because then I can give people more attention. I mean, I think I only had like 400 accounts or something when I was with Sporting, and that was pretty good. But then our season is, I mean, that soccer if anyone here is a soccer fan or follows the MLS, like that season is so long. I mean, we're talking from February to November. I mean, that is a long season. And or with baseball, your season is also long. But then in the NFL, your season really is only from September, if you count preseason, so August, if you really want to count it, OTAs and preseason. So really like August-ish to February, shorter season, but less events, but now you're talking about I manage like 1,300 accounts or something, whereas with the Bruins I was managing 600, so it's more than double the amount of accounts. So, I mean, there's that. There's also less opportunity to connect with my clients. So I really have to make sure that every connection counts in the NFL because there's less games to talk to people. Whereas in hockey, I had 41 plus chances to say hi to a certain account and less accounts. So it was, that was really, it's not even just the sport itself, it's the things that go along with it. And two, the area. Like I said, Boston loves their hockey. I also worked for a hockey team that was played second fiddle to the really third fiddle to the Rangers and the Islanders. So I mean, there's that presented a whole issue. So it really just depends on the area and the landscape, and there's too many factors that go into it.
Were there any clubs or organizations you were involved with in college that help prepare you for a career in the sports industry?
Um, I will say more so, I mean, when I was at Drexel, the program was still pretty new. There wasn't a lot of um, clubs within, and two, I commuted every day, which made it a little harder, but it was more like the location of my school. That's why I elected it. Plus, we had a co-op program, but I mean, I was a few blocks away from Center City, and I knew that, hey, I want to work in sports, so I'm going to go to a school that's in a major city that has a lot of major sports around. So, I mean, I had the Phillies, I had the Union, I had the Eagles, I had the Sixers, all within that city. And now, you know, there's also teams in New Jersey, New York. I mean, there were so many sports teams around where I was, and I think that was better. Two, if any of you know of like alumni that work in your, that went to your school but work for a team, like I would I would 100% try to reach out and talk to them or get to know them because I wish I remember the woman who got me my internship, but she is the person I credit for getting my first internship because remember one class I had, we had to interview someone who works in sports who went to Drexel and, just work any like, and all these people are reaching out to either who works for like the YMCA or something or whatever. But I'm like, I want to work in pro sports. I'm going to reach out to this person. She went to Drexel and I interviewed her, like an informational interview for a class assignment. And then, I mean, you never know how small these small connections can mean to you because I remember reaching out to her and saying, hey, I need to find an internship for school the next year. And she forwarded my resume along. That's how I got my first internship with the Sixers. And then from there, they liked me so much, they brought me back a second year. And that like it was just a snowball. Then I got to, doing game day stuff with the Eagles and I worked for the Philadelphia Soul after that. And because I had all these little internships, it helped me get my first job out of college. And it's like if I never reached out to that one person who that, yeah, I would definitely say reach out to any alumni in your network, or even, people that like myself who love talking to college kids, like utilize those connections. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to college kids and that's it. I see them once and I never talk to them again. Like they're going to be like the sports industry is small. I know so many people myself that work for many great organizations around here, around the country and that work for inside sales programs. Like I know people literally from coast to coast, not all that work in inside sales or whatever. And you never know how big of a connection someone might have somewhere. So definitely stay in contact with the people that you talk to.
Can you talk a little bit about your experience interning for the Sixers?
Yeah, so my first internship with the Sixers was was a game day position. It was called fan patrol, but basically that's back when I don't know if any of you were basketball fans, but when I was there, this is back when they had the worst record out of any NBA team ever. But they had such a great fan experience. Like my wife and I were big Celtics fans, but she went to a Sixers game and she went to a Celtics game and she said like there's no comparison. The on-court presentation of the Sixers is like far and none the best, and to this day is the best that we've ever seen. And we were part of that, whether that's helping out with the t-shirt cannon or helping out with the bell that they ding on the court before games or handing out stuff at I kind of did it all. Like I was working with marketing, I was helping out with promotions, I was helping out with on-court presentation and kind of they rebranded it to game presentation interns the following year. But um yeah, I mean, all that stuff got my foot in the door, and then it allowed me to meet some people who also do stuff with the Eagles, and then that also helped propel me to getting to my first like ticket sales internship with the Philadelphia Soul. And I mean, you never know, like something so insignificant as you being a ticket seller at a window or so, you never know who you're gonna meet. It's crazy and like these things like matter. People will love if you try to do these internships earlier on in your career and you don't really get anything for it, but experience like people love that.
Hello, Sammy. I'm Ryan White, the vice president of the club, and I want to take a chance or say thank you for coming on, of course, and
Yeah.
answering all these questions. I have one question for you, a little bit of a fun one. I want to say, what is your favorite moment in your career thus far?
Oh man, my favorite moment in my career as a fan or working.
Um, could be either one. You choose.
Okay. Um, I would say my favorite moment working in sports. Well, say as a fan, as a fan, definitely being there for game 5 of the Celtics finals. That like was the last Celtics game that my wife and and little did we know that was going to be the last game living there that we went to. So that was really cool. Um, but from a working perspective, I would say really like, and it's not like one specific moment, I would say, but it's like man, like these people, they see this stuff on TV, or if anyone plays Madden, like on a video game, or or NBA 2K, like these are things that people see on TV or playing video games, but like I'm there. Like my workspace when I was with the Bruins, like I could walk right into the garden. It was connected, and I could see all the banners that these teams are winning and like that like it definitely gets taken advantage of and people sort of take it for they definitely don't realize how special it is being in places like that where Like you get to see a lot of the behind the scenes things. And I'll never forget my one professor, Dr. Burchett from Drexel. He said like when we were all getting ready to do our like big internships, or we had like a night class similar to this, and he was saying, hey, like you could choose to look at this one of two ways. You know, working in sports definitely isn't the most lucrative thing you can do. You do it because you love it and you love being around that environment. Now you can choose to look at it as, oh man, I have an internship just holding a cable for a TV broadcaster at Madison Square Garden, or hey, I get to be in Madison Square Garden every single day. Like that was the exact same example. He's like, I get to be there every single day on the court and I'm helping the TV people. Like you can choose to look at it one or two ways. So I would say that's like my favorite part is just being there in person for live sporting events and being there when the big moments happen.
Yeah, as a fan, I would definitely say the Celtics winning was one of my favorite, as you can see.
Yeah, I swear
But yeah,
I wish I
I
knew.
have to agree.
I think I have the confetti. I thought it was in this room. Maybe I don't know where it is.
Yeah,
Oh, definitely thought it was somewhere around here. I'm gonna have to ask my wife where she put it. But
I have confetti from the parade. I drove up with my dad and we
that's
went,
awesome.
so that's cool.
I
Yeah.
love I love the Celtics. You know what? I really got to find out where my wife put that because I thought it was in here and now that's gonna be a problem. It is. But yeah, no, that's awesome. I love
Yeah.
that.
That was all the questions I have. So now we'll go to the floor. So I'll go, Ava, do you have any questions?
Hi, I'm Ava. I'm the social media manager for the club.
Hey.
And my question is kind of just about like I'm kind of trying to go through the whole process of getting an internship for the summer. And I know you'd mentioned about how like important networking is, but do you have any other advice for like either standing out or just kind of getting your foot in the door somewhere?
Yeah, do these internships kind of whenever and wherever you can. Like just because you have an internship coming up, you said for the summer, correct?
Yeah, like I'm going through the process of like trying to apply. So like if you have
Well,
any advice about how to get like make
what's
yourself stand out.
what I would say is what's stopping you from getting an internship now? Like just because you have a class schedule, like you can work around that. I used to use the term like I'll sleep, like I'll get the rest when I'm retired. I was having two or three jobs or internships at a time, but I was just trying to do whatever I could to get ahead of it. And okay, like say there is a team that you want to work for, like the Bruins or the Celtics or whoever it is, just because there's no internship available now, and this is probably the biggest thing I can tell you to stick out, is just because there's no internship available doesn't mean you can't reach out to the people who are in those positions now, because say you start to garner a relationship with that person and then all of a sudden the position does open up now hey, I know Ava, like I've talked to you already three or four times, and now all of a sudden there is an internship available. So I would say that like reach out to people even though you don't have to. Just try reaching out to them now. If there's a position like someone you see, like, hey, I want to be you one day. People love talking about what they do.
Thank you so much. Thanks for coming on and talking to us tonight.
Sure, no problem.
Hello, I'm Benicio. I'm the treasurer for the club. I'm a communication major here at Monmouth. I just want to thank you for hopping on this Zoom meeting with us. And my question is, what was the biggest obstacle that you overcame in your career in the sports industry?
Ooh.
And how did you overcome that obstacle?
Oh man, that's a good one. Um, I would say the biggest obstacle I overcame, especially earlier on in my career, I'll try to tailor it to where you guys are now. The biggest hurdle I overcame was I was getting rejected left and right from places. Ava, you had mentioned you're going through this process, and I'm sure all of you are going through processes trying to get positions or trying to get internships. Like, I want to say I was rejected from over 50 teams before I even got the opportunity to get the first job offer I got. So, I mean, that rejection can even this past year, try when I was ready, like, hey, I know I'm ready to move on from this organization. I I did love it there, but I knew it just wasn't in the long term for me, and I was still getting rejected. And my wife talked to me, is like, is doesn't that like take a toll on you? Like you're getting rejected and you're flying out to these places and it's taking like a literal physical toll on your body. Like, do you want to keep going through this? And I said, yeah, like I'm so motivated now because every no I get is closer to being that yes. So I would say the biggest obstacle is overcoming those rejections. I mean, it was a lot, and I'm there right with you guys. Like I went through it. And it led me to where we are now. Like I'm really happy with, living in Michigan, living in the and working for the Lions. Like it's awesome. I can't like the leadership here is great. The area is great. The fans are awesome. So I'm really, really happy that all the rejections and it's molded me into who I am today. And trust me, like all of you, you're gonna have your moments where you're now working for these big organizations and who knows, one day you guys might be my boss. I don't know. Like you're gonna start meeting these people and it's going to be awesome to see where you guys go, but just know that there's going to be rejection along the way.
Did you have a strategy that it would help you secure those jobs when you were getting rejected? Like what I guess what strategies do you employ
Yeah.
to improve the way companies perceived you?
Yeah, so one thing what I will say is even if I get rejected, making sure to, wish them if I made it far enough with that organization, if their season is about to be underway, like wishing them good luck. Now, I love living in KC, and I tried to interview with the Royals a number of times, and I still text like I was their second choice except for someone internally. I'm still like I literally still texted the guy the other day, "Hey, good luck," before the series started. So. Um, I'm making sure even if you get rejected, like still stay in touch with these people. You never know if another position is going to come up later on. And um, I will say another thing too, Ava, sorry, I'm now just thinking about this, but it goes back to what you were asking, like trying to get on people's radars is say you see a job posted or an internship posted, like do some digging into who the hiring manager is and if they see you reaching out to them and not just like don't do a LinkedIn message. Um, a lot of time, like if you're trying to get a position, they get so many LinkedIn messages. I would try to find their email, and the way you can do that is if there is, say, the Celtics, right? It's just an example I'm using, or the Bruins. Find someone who is a account executive there, um, like ticket sales or inside, find an inside sales rep there. A lot of time, those people they're posting their email because they're trying to get businesses to reach out to them. So now all of a sudden you see Joe, say the hiring manager is Joe Smith, but you see another person with their email. So now you find out what that like their email is, and you're able now to you know what I'm saying? Like you can find out what Joe Smith's email would be based off of the last person, and now you can email them directly. I mean, how many people out of say the thousands of people that are applying are actually emailing, not LinkedIn messaging, but actually emailing the hiring manager? That is a lot of times like making sure you get on their radar and it's not just a apply and that's it, right? So, um, I would say that keep on with these people even if they reject you.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. That's great advice.
And then I'll just quickly introduce myself. I'm Brandon. I'm the president of the club. I'm a statistics major. And then one last question I had, since we're on the topic of like trying to get internships and jobs, do you have any interviewing advice on for somebody, especially in college or just coming out of college, uh,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
jobs?
yeah. So this is a good question again. I remember when I first um was interviewing with teams, what kind of experience or what kind of drive can you bring to the team? And I said, like, I'm willing to do whatever you ask. Now, that to someone that might seem great, but like what they're really trying to find out is, and what they want to hear is, how can you, Brandon or whoever, how can you help impact their business and their line of things and making sure they feel like their position that you're interviewing for is the one that you want. Like I had someone I remember had asked me like, "Hey, do you have any other positions that you're looking at too?" And I would say like try to answer that with like yeah, I have all these opportunities. Like don't say that. They want to make it seem like they're the most like important person they're talking to. So try to really do your research on the position or the organization before and say like how you specifically and your experiences can help impact and raise their level of expertise.
All right, thank you. So if nobody else has any questions, usually at the end, if you can drop some like contact information in the chat, like a LinkedIn or an email.
Yeah,
All
in
right.
this chat or in
Yeah,
the
if that works in the
I
Zoom
don't
chat.
how do I do that?
There should
Okay.
be chat on the bottom.
Okay, what are you looking for? Like an email or
LinkedIn, email, whatever is a good way to keep in touch.
I will give you my work email as well as my personal email. There's my work email. And then here is my personal. And Brandon, you have
Yeah, I can. Oh wait, can you hear me? Yeah,
my
I
link.
can. I can share that with the club LinkedIn because I
Okay.
have to.
So either one of these, like I'm always happy. I love talking to college because I was once that kid like trying to reaching out to people as much as I can. I'm super big on informational interviews. Like I still do it even though I'm 29 years old now and I have a career and I have a job. Like I still do it. I still keep in contact with these people that like I keep in contact with. Funny enough, before I got the Warriors job, I was in Tampa at the time and I got rejected from the Buccaneers. But I like asked the question of once, like, how do I get better? Oh no, first time I interviewed with the guy, I said, "Hey, what can I do to get better?" He loved it. And he's like, I can't believe like a kid who's just graduating college and like asked that. He'd never seen that before. And now to this day, I still keep in contact with the guy and I still text him like once every couple of weeks. So um, definitely please reach out. Um, or if you're like, hey, I'm trying to one in so and so organization, or like a lot of time for better or for worse, my one friend who just got a job, thank God, but he would text me all the time. I have no idea who the hiring manager is for this position. It would take me like 2 seconds to find out. And he's like, "What's their email?" And I get like, I did the thing where I look up the account executive thing. I was like, "All right, this is what their email would be." So like reach out to me. I have no problem talking to any one of you one on one. And if you're all trying to do interviews, happy to run you through a couple test questions. And one of the things I did at the Bruins was I literally interviewed for like I was co-managing the sales and service interns. So I ran interviews. I know what kind of questions they ask. I'm very much happy to help any one of you out if you're trying to either find a position or if you found one, wanting to know someone who works there, chances are I know someone there or know someone who knows someone. Or again, if you want to just run through some test interview questions, I'm always happy to help.
All right, thank you so much for taking the time out.
Yeah,
Yeah, thanks.
happy to. Yeah, happy to, guys, and good luck. And there's any other questions past this conversation, I'm definitely more than happy to answer.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you
Thank
so
you so much.
much.
Yeah,
No
thank you.
problem.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.